Hi, boys and girls. It's lesson 1-3 on rounding. And we are going to be trying out our new program, Cami. We're going to post this as well as have the regular journals available to you. So you can do one or the other. But we have our journal page built right into this document. And I'm going to be writing as well on this next page of grid paper. And it seems to be working okay. So we'll give that a try. And I will do my best to get this sent out to you in a way that you can see it, this video. All right, so please be patient with the technology as we all are trying to make it work. Okay, so I'm going to move my head kind of right here, and so I can adjust the zoom a little bit. And we can read the math message about rounding. And rounding is a really challenging concept in fourth grade. It is something that, as we get into bigger and bigger numbers and thinking about rounding to certain places, it can get confusing. So we're going to try to simplify it as much as we can and try to break it down into easy, manageable steps. But we're going to continue to practice rounding into the very end of the year because it is a skill that we want to have nice and strong for us. So don't be discouraged if we're having a hard time with it at first. We're going to do this again and again until we feel really comfortable with it. Okay, so our question says, Ravi wants to know the total number of students that go to his school. The school website says about 860 students. The school newsletter says about 900 students. The principal then tells Ravi that the school has exactly 856 students. How did the website get about 860? And then how did the newsletter get about 900? So, like always, we're going to pause here and work out our answer. And then after we submit an answer, we'll get right back to it. Okay? All right. Great. So, let's think about this number 856. This is the exact number that we're dealing with. And, well, the idea behind this is that we are going to use rounding to get these two different numbers. And the way we round depends on what place we're rounding to. So let's start off with thinking about the first example of 856 being rounded to 860. Now, that circumstance is that we're rounding to the nearest, yes, so this line tool is being a little weird. It's about 2 spaces above where I'm actually clicking. So I'm going to have to try my best to mark the lines just kind of approximately here. Okay, so this number here and this number here and this number here, kind of marking different points on a number line. Okay, and I'm going to try to use my eraser tool really quick. And let's see if we can, it just erased the entire thing. Okay, so we're going to try that again and use a drawing tool. And we're going to try to make a little mark here. That looks good. So we're going to go up even higher. I'm going to probably need to move my head a little bit. Okay. And let's see. All right. So 856. What is it rounded to? What number is it rounded to? What place did we change? Well, if we're looking at it closely, and I'm going to zoom in a little more, as I was mentioned before, we're going to look at this number here, 860, was rounded from 856. Now, how did we get that? Well, we rounded to the nearest 10. Okay, so that is what we're getting at here. We're going to write in, I'm going to try my best to write it in. You know what? I'm just going to type it in. All right, so we're going to type in right here 800 50. And then we are going to drag that over. And we're going to type in over here, boing, 860. Now, the number that goes here is not 856. It's actually the halfway point, okay? And that halfway point number, what's halfway in between 850 and 860? Because the reason I chose those two numbers is that 856, if we were counting by tens, would be those two numbers that surrounded 856. 850 is just below it. 860 is just above it. And so what's exactly halfway in between? Well, we have 855. Okay, and that's exactly halfway in between. I'm going to place that right there for us. Okay, now where exactly is 856 on this number line? Well, it is right about here. Oop, or how about there? There we go. I don't know why that drawing tool is acting funny on me. But anyway, 855, 850, 860. Where does the real number fall? Does it fall past the halfway point, closer to the larger number, or does it fall before the halfway point and goes closer to the smaller number? Well, in this circumstance, 856, and I'm going to choose red this time, falls right there. Oops. Okay. So 856 goes right there. And do we see how in this space, 850, 860, 856 is closer to 860 than it is to 850? Do we see how that falls? And the reason why we added in this number is we want to see that it is more than halfway to the next 10, or multiple of 10 if we're counting by tens. So let's think about this next example, 900. And I'm going to move this over just so we can look at it really quick, and then I'm going to put it back. I actually wanted to move the whole page. There we go. So the school newsletter says about 900 students, and we know the exact number is this 856, right? So how did we get to 900? In this example, we rounded not to the nearest 10, but this time to the nearest 900. And so we are going to think about which two hundreds, which two numbers that we're counting by hundreds by, would 856 fall in between? Would it be just below or just above? Okay, so which two numbers, if we're counting by hundreds, is 856 going to be exactly in between? All right, and in this case, I'm going to move my paper over again. If we think about 856, let's see, I'm going to just jump straight to a text box. And so the number just below 856, if we're counting by 800s, is going to be not 880, 800. Okay, and I want to make sure I put a point exactly where that number falls, because just like the last one, we want to make sure that we're doing this precise. And I didn't want red, but that works fine. All right, so 800, and then at the other side, we have 900. Okay, so 900, let's put in that text box there, and we'll do it this one. 900 is the number just above 856 if we're counting by hundreds. There is not a different 100 below, and there is not a different 100 above. So now, what is the number that falls exactly in between 800 and 900? What is the halfway point? And it is going to be, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I actually accidentally made too many lines there in this previous example, but that's fine. We are going to now put the halfway point at right there. And we're going to then put what number? What's the halfway in between 800 and 900? Right, 850. Okay, so that is what we're going to put there. And so where does 856 fall on this number line? Where does it fall? Does it fall above 850 or below 850? Is it closer to 800 or closer to 900? And that's really what we're working on right now with rounding. Okay, and then there's going to be some methods that we kind of develop to find a quick way to round later on. But right now, I want you to think about it in terms of a number line. I want you to think about it in terms of how we can see it visually and how it's closer to one number or the next. And then we're going to get into thinking about what would be good reasons to round numbers. Okay, so let's think about that for a second. Where would you put this number on the number line? Above 850 or below 850? Okay, so where would you put it? Right, it would be really close to 850, but just above it. And I'm going to try to make sure, there we go, right about there. And you know what? I want a different color. I want purple or pink. And we're going to try again. There we go. So it's right about there. All right. It might even be a little bit closer, but it is still past 850. So our final answer here is 856. And I'm going to write the number just below it, just so we can kind of see it and separate it from that one. But as you can see, 856 is closer to 900 than it is to 800. So if we were rounding this number to the nearest 100, we would round up to 900. If our other choice would be to round down to 800. So that's how we do it with 3-digit numbers. We're going to now jump into bigger numbers, okay? And I want it to scroll up, and I'm going to zoom out and look at our journal page 1-3 on rounding. And they want you to do the same exact thing again. And they want you to pay close attention to which place value they want you to round to. And number 1, they want you to round to the nearest 1,000. So I want you to circle that as well. I want you to make sure that you see that. And then number 2, they want you to round to the nearest 10, which is a very different kind of rounding than rounding to the nearest 1,000. Okay, and I'm going to see if I can improve that drawing. I'm using my special pen tool, and it stinks. Anyway, so yeah, rounding to the nearest 10 is right there. And then another one to the nearest 10. And my goodness, it is less than cooperative with the video running. Okay, so we'll try that one more time. There we go. So rounding to the nearest 10 again. But down here, nearest 100,000. And then this one is nearest 10,000. So pay close attention to which place value they want you to round to, because it will change your answer a lot. So 4,698 to the nearest 1,000. So we're looking at the thousands place. And in this case, we're looking at this digit, 4. Okay. And so what number is below 4,698? if we were counting by this place value, the thousands? It is, and I'm going to use my text box tool. Ding! I'm going to say that is 4,000. Oops, not 400, 4,000. All right, and we should have a comma in there, so we'll put that in there too. And I can move it right there. All right, and now the next number is what? What is the next number above? If we're counting by thousands, so we have 4,000, and then the next one is 5,000. And we'll make sure we have a comma in there as well. So what's halfway in between 4,000 and 5,000? That's going to be our next number, 4,500. All right. Now, we have our lower number, we have our halfway number, and we have our higher number. Where does this number end up? Where does it fall on this number line? Well, 4,698 is almost 4,700. And so I'm going to say it's right about here. And so I'm going to use my drawing tool, and I am going to mark it right about there. And I'm going to put in my little text box, and I'm going to write the actual number, 4,698, right there. And now we can see, what number is it closer to? Is it closer to the higher number or closer to the lower number? And we don't say which is it closer to the halfway number, because the halfway number is just helping us see which one is closer. Is it past the halfway point, or is it not past the halfway point? So we want to say that it's past the halfway point, and we are rounding up to this number. So this is the number that we want to put into this space here. We're just going to type it over again, 5,000. Okay, so that's how we did number one together. I want you to think about number two. They gave you the lower number, which is 5,770. What's going to be the next number if you're counting by tens that will get you there? And what's halfway in between? And then where does this number fall? Okay, and then we're going to be doing the same thing for these problems on the rest of the page. And if you would like to draw out number lines to help you with that thinking, you may. And I'm going to have a feeling that this 100,000 and 10,000 is going to be a little more challenging than some of these other ones that we've done already. But I'd like you to see how much you can expand your thinking on it and give it your best shot. All right. So good luck with this. And I hope you're actually able to watch this and have a great day. All right.